Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Big news in the heavyweight division and boxing more broadly. The Day of Reckoning event in Saudi Arabia for the 23rd of December has been confirmed. So massive card, 6 heavyweight fights confirmed. So we'll talk more generally about the card, some of the things from the press conference, but some of the individual fights will go into further depth in individual videos. But a situation where I think we probably never would have expected it, where Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder are fighting on the same card but in different fights. So, yeah, this event seems to have come together quite quickly. Some of the fighters had said, look, I was contacted a week ago. That was what Otto Wallin said. Took him 2 days to basically get the deal all wrapped up, and they were willing to sort of jump into it. So it's all happened quite quickly. So the Saudis throwing all sorts of money at this, and certainly that is greasing the wheels to the nth degree. So you have a situation where they stated in the press conference 12 promoters are working together for this card. You had a situation with the collaboration involving 2 of the world boxing's top promoters. Top Rank was also mentioned as well as being part of it, but Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn, the Queensberry and Matchroom promoters respectively, at the press conference talking about the event. We'll come to their comments soon, because I think too often we've basically seen promotional silos come into play, and it sort of scuppers potential fights because people will not cross the aisles. But obviously, as we know, money makes things happen. So as you can see from the promo poster, so top left, you've got Otto Wallin and Anthony Joshua. On the right-hand side, Deontay Wilder versus Joseph Parker. It's unclear which fight is going to be actually headlining on the night, because previously it had been reported to be Joshua. But in this press event, they were very careful actually to make sure that they were giving a lot of deference to both those top fighters, and they had actually Deontay Wilder being the last fighter that was spoken to. So is that an indicative order? Unclear. Maybe it's for the events leading up to it, and Joshua will end up being on the night. We'll have to see. Maybe it's a coin flip situation. At the end of the day, who actually cares? I know some people get up in their feelings about that sort of stuff. Let's just be grateful that some of these fights have happened. I mean, I know a lot of people will say Joshua and Wilder, they should have fought, and that they should be fighting each other in this card. But both these guys have left the door open for that to happen in potential future events that the Saudis put on as part of Riyadh season. But Joshua Wallin, Wilder Parker, in the middle of the promo poster, Daniel Dubois and Jarrell Miller, which is quite an interesting matchup for a number of reasons. Miller, we obviously know the PED sort of instances in the past. 3 different times he's fallen foul of the testers. Daniel Dubois, he's coming off a loss to Alexander Usyk, some controversy in that fight. Also for Miller, this is a situation out of nowhere, literally out of nowhere, he gets an opportunity. You also have bottom left there, Frank Sanchez versus Junior Farr. Frank Sanchez couldn't make the press conference. Filip Hrgovic versus Mark De Mori. That's probably the most disappointing fight on the card. I think most people would consider that to be a mismatch. But Arslanbek Makhmudov and Agit Kabayel, this is the 6th heavyweight fight. So you have a situation with Kabayel, who's been clearly hanging out for big paydays against top names and almost has been in line to fight Tyson Fury, rumoured at different points in years gone by, sometimes rumoured for Anthony Joshua. They must be throwing up a lot of cash to get him to basically throw up his O to be on the line against the guy Arslanbek Makhmudov, who is not proven at world level. He's still making his way up. So the money must be good. And considering 12 promoters involved and all sorts of managers, they talked about the 16 fight contracts, because we've also got Dimitri Bivol on the undercard and also Jai Opetaia. So this is racked and stacked. You had the likes of Anthony Joshua making a comment saying this is one of the greatest ever cards, if not the greatest. I think maybe some of the promoters back in the 90s, aka when Don King was putting on great cards but robbing fighters, they might say that, look, they had some pretty solid cards back in the day. But in terms of recently, I mean, so often what you'll have is a lot of big names in, stay busy or mismatches on the same card. But genuinely, you have a situation with this card. You've got some fights that we all want to watch here. Maybe some of the matchups weren't exactly what we were expecting, but it doesn't mean they're not good matchups, especially because of, let's face it, in heavyweight boxing, inactivity. Inactivity can be a killer. So you have to ask the question, what does that mean for the likes of Jarrell Miller and Deontay Wilder as well? You've had his opponent, Joseph Parker, being active, but I think, some people have strong feelings about which way these fights will go, but genuinely, there's some fights like Dubois and Miller where there's a lot of intrigue there. Even Agit Kabayel versus Arslanbek Makhmudov, that's one of the better opponents that Makhmudov's had in his career. As we know, Kabayel, who's been fighting once a year, for about 5 or 6 years in a row. He fought Derek Chisora back in 2017 and cantered to a victory. But, we haven't really sort of seen much out of him since. He's just been sort of meandering along. Junior Farr sort of plucked from obscurity almost because he was having a decent little run and then all of a sudden got stopped by Lucas Brown unexpectedly. So this is a lifeline for his career. Same too for Mark De Mori. For Miller, out of, given what's happened in recent years, for him to be on a card of this size, basically, not really having any fights of notes lately and has sort of come back after all the PED troubles, you have to say this is a mega lifeline. As we know, Deontay Wilder has been wanting to fight. There's been different names. Deals haven't been done. PBC with its broadcasters, Showtime's falling by the wayside. The Fox deal went away. It was unclear when he was going to be fighting next. And this card comes along. Great opportunity for him. And Anthony Joshua, he's been building back from those Usyk losses. Standing in his way is Otto, who is a credible and talented southpaw. Not quite Usyk level, but where is Joshua's head at? Because he talked about needing a destructive performance. But the promoters, it was interesting because, as we know, they can get quite bitter at times. Interviews where they sort of slate the others. Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn in the UK, it's been battling for supremacy back and forth, for some considerable years now. And they've got history of being not too nice to each other. But Warren described the card as historic, that it was a game changer. It's the first fight in Riyadh season just a few weeks ago with Fury and Ngannou that sort of opened the door to this card. And he said, look, we're all working together now to make fights for the fans. The fights that people want will happen now. I mean, we'll have to see, because I think arguably from this list of fights, there's some good fights, but were they the one the fans were calling for? That's the question. And will we continue to see, decent fights, but fights where we kind of go, is that really a 50-50 or a 60-40, or is it the sort of rivalry that we're looking to see ended after years and years? Because sometimes those are the fights that we're really baying for, and those are the fights we want to see happen now. But, I can't knock it. 6 heavyweight fights, and basically 5 of them are pretty decent. I think Hrgovic and De Mori a little less so. But still, Hrgovic, I think, with his position in the IBF, perhaps the matchmaking is such that he's just looking to also protect that IBF mandatory position. Because if Usyk and Fury, because that's about to be announced as well in another event in a day's time from recording this video, you have a situation that Filip Hrgovic is Johnny on the spot for a title shot, either against the winner, or if they fight twice, a belt will be vacated, and you have Filip Hrgovic fighting for that. So I think the matchmaking makes sense in that sense, that they're just looking to guard the position somewhat. Because there had been talk that Martin Bakole was going to fight Filip Hrgovic, or I had heard Martin Bakole was going to be on the card, but not there. There was also Derek Chisora in the crowd. I'm sure he would have been trying to get onto this sort of event, but I think we've also seen enough of Derek Chisora at this sort of level, especially how washed he's been looking of late. But there was some entertaining moments in the press conference with Jarrell Miller, of course. He is one of those guys that likes to spark things off. He was obviously having a go at Daniel Dubois, basically saying that he was a quitter. He went after Joshua as well, trying to sort of, get under his skin, needle him a bit, and Joshua had actually, sort of bit a couple of times and said, F Miller, da-da-da-da-da, all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, Miller, for all his faults and failed tests, he certainly is a character that does know how to liven things up. And really, it's a lifeline for his career. Interestingly, though, actually, Otto Wallin talked about himself being a promotional free agent, but it was referenced that Dimitri Salita was his promoter. So not sure really what that's about, but maybe going forward, there's not much on the deal. Maybe it's a fight-by-fight basis. Who knows? Because there was reports earlier in 2023 that Wallin had come off contract, but then Dimitri Salita telling anyone who will listen that he still promotes Otto Wallin. You had Eddie Hearn saying, look, this is surreal, it's an incredible event, and he sort of noted Frank Warren's comment that it is about collaboration, and it was refreshing to see the change, and he thought this was the best event in history. Maybe going a little far, but certainly one of the better events in recent boxing history. So many times we get a lot of cards where you've got not a lot on them and there's a huge cost associated with them. Unclear actually how much this is going to cost, but we have had the Saudis saying, look, they at the start of the press conference they want to put that out to the world at a reasonable price. So I guess watch the space, could vary in different locations. But from the New Zealand point of view, a couple of New Zealanders here, Junior Farr and Joseph Parker, my countrymen. But in general, 6 heavyweight fights. I'm a heavyweight channel. This is almost like heaven. This is the sort of stuff that I want to see. And let's face it, 2023 for the heavyweight division's been generally quite poor. Hasn't been a lot of fights, hasn't been a lot of action. Some of the money and the promotional issues has been an obstacle. Guys not wanting to fight, looking to wait and see what other guys do, waiting for the top guys to do something, so then stuff starts to have a knock-on effect and trickle down to influence what they do next. But looking forward to it. So the day of reckoning, as it is called, 23rd of December, 6 heavyweight fights. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.